Let's talk about EN 301.549 and specifically a revision that is in the works right now that, when published, will result in version 4.1.1 of EN 301.549. Now, if you'll recall, EN 301.549 is a European standard. It's a technical standard for the accessibility of ICT products and services. And ICT stands for Information Communication Technologies. So in ICT products and services, we have a standard set, and it is extremely helpful as we're working towards compliance with the European Accessibility Act. So when we look at Annex 1, we see all of these requirements for products and services. EN 301.549 can help us in understanding the how to. So the how to meet these requirements. EN 301.549 is already extremely helpful because, again, it tells us about the accessibility product requirements for ICT products and services. However, it has not been updated to support the European Accessibility Act. So currently we're on version 3.2.1, and that is set out here in this page. I've just scrolled down. We have a short history of EN 301.549, and it talks about what I just mentioned, is that we have this new revision in the works. But the current version was published in 2021, and it supports the Web Accessibility Directive. Now, remember, the Web Accessibility Directive is for the public sector, and this gets at the accessibility of websites and mobile applications. But of course, we want to see an update. Now, I don't know if I already mentioned this, but importantly, this newest version, 4.1.1, will not be published until after the compliance deadline for the European Accessibility Act. And remember, the compliance deadline is June 28th, 2025. So that is something that obviously it would be optimal if it was beforehand. In fact, it would be best if it was already published, but it's not yet published. But we know that EN 301.549 is going to be extremely helpful. What will be extra nice about this new version is that it will be there to specifically support the European Accessibility Act. And so what needs to happen is this new version is published, and then it goes through rounds of approvals. And then once approved, it will be harmonized with the European Accessibility Act. And then conformance with EN 301.549 will give you a presumption of conformity for the technical requirements that are set out in the European Accessibility Act. So this update is one worth watching. And in fact, we can keep track of it because, and I'm going to link to both of the pages that I have on the screen. The page that's currently on the screen with me is simply the write-up for EN 301.549. And then we can track, we can see the work item schedule. And so for this new version 4.1.1, we can see that there have been multiple rounds of stable drafts published, and we're seeing that it's actually ahead of schedule. So the target date for this latest stable draft was February 9th, 2025, and it's already been achieved on December 12th, 2024. So on Christmas Eve, they already had this draft finished. Now, you need to be able to log into the portal to access this stable draft, but you may be able to get a hold of an advanced copy of this new version, but it's not yet released, at least outwardly to the public. But just know that you can go ahead and track this scheduling if you so choose, and then possibly get an advanced copy. But the good news is that EN 301.549 is already here to support organizations and sellers of products and services. It's already here to support you, and it's going to be extremely helpful in understanding how to implement the technical requirements that are set out in the European Accessibility Act. And remember, there is also Annex 2 within the directive. So within the European Accessibility Act, there is still Annex 2, which provides examples of the requirements. So that's also going to be really helpful. And then EN 301.549 even incorporates WCAG 2.1 AA. And of course, you can reference the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines independently and look at those and see all of the different success criteria, which is actually, it's synonymous with requirements. So you can look through these success criteria, see the different layers, see the exceptions, and understand more of the underpinning of why the success criteria, why each success criterion is even there, and what's the word I'm looking for? There are sufficient techniques is the phrase I'm looking for. What sufficient techniques can meet all of the various success criteria? So that's going to be very, very helpful. So you've got a number of documents here, multiple documents that you can use to help you work through the technical accessibility requirements in the European Accessibility Act. Of course, we are all looking forward to version 4.1.1 being published. But again, before that, there's that presumption of conformity. We still need to wait for the approval process, but that is expected to take place. So I will link to both of the links that I've already talked about. I will also link to accessible.org. If you need help with compliance for the European Accessibility Act, we can offer a number of services, including audits, training, and consulting. So feel free to reach out to me directly if you need help with the European Accessibility Act. I will include several links in the description.